The steel cable that killed me was still singing when I opened my eyes in another boy's body. Before I could ask why I was alive, a blue crystal above my palm announced that I had no beast, and 400 candidates laughed. I could still feel cold rain on my face and see the snapped cable whipping toward me above the bridge. One moment I had been checking a damaged support line. The next, I wore a gray academy uniform and stood before a thin man in a red instructor's coat. His name was Garth. The memories inside this body told me I was Rylan, an orphan admitted on a scholarship worth 12 gold a month. Without it, I would lose my meals, room, and place in the main course. Garth tapped the crystal with one finger. No resonance, he said. No beast. No future as a summoner. I looked at the crystal. A pale spark was still circling inside it. The Academy rules allow a second reading when the crystal remains active, I said. The laughter weakened. Several candidates leaned forward. They knew the rule too. Garth covered the spark with his palm. The Academy rules allow an instructor to reject a dangerous irregularity. We have already wasted 6 minutes on you. The first reading lasted 11 seconds. The hall became quiet. Garth's mouth tightened. Behind him, an assistant held the last scholarship seal while a boy in a silver coat watched it. If I failed, my 12 gold would become available before the afternoon placements. Garth raised his voice so every row could hear. Rylan has challenged an examiner during his own failure. I am recording poor discipline, unstable resonance, and an empty contract. He is removed from the primary class. His scholarship is suspended immediately. Red letters spread across the ranking wall. My name fell from place 209 to place 418. Last place. Candidates laughed and lifted recording crystals. My humiliation was preserved from 6 angles. The boy in silver smiled as the assistant placed my scholarship seal on his stack. I did not shout. Shouting did not repair a broken cable. First I checked the damage, then I found the load, then I found the weakest point. What is the final contract procedure? I asked. Garth seemed disappointed that I had not begged. Failed candidates may use one discarded medium. It prevents complaints from people who believe the Academy owes them a miracle. He kicked a wooden box toward me. There were cracked bones inside, 3 dry feathers, a dead beetle, and a ball of white yarn. The hall began to laugh before I touched anything. I chose the yarn. That made the laughter twice as loud. Excellent, Garth said. The empty summoner has contracted with laundry. The yarn was cheap, it was rough against my skin, and the ball held perhaps 100 meters. Yet when I lifted it, the pale spark inside the crystal struck the thread. Warmth entered my fingers. I had tied thousands of safety knots in my previous life. My hands moved before I had decided what to make. I formed a small body, folded 2 wings, looped a head, and tightened a final knot beneath a narrow tail. A white bird rested on my palm. It was ugly. One wing was larger than the other. Its head leaned sideways. It looked like a dumpling that had made a serious mistake. Someone in the front row threw a copper coin at my feet. Make me a sock next. The bird raised its head. Only 3 people noticed. I noticed. A dark-haired girl near the aisle noticed. Garth noticed. His hand moved quickly. He snatched the bird from my palm and pulled its body apart between both hands. The thread gave a soft cry as it tore. It was not the sound of yarn breaking. It was the sound of a tiny living thing losing its breath. The girl by the aisle stood up. It moved, she said. Garth dropped the pieces. Static mana, a common twitch. Sit down, Iris. One loose wing dragged itself across the platform toward my boot. Garth stepped on it. The hall saw that. The laughter stopped completely. I looked at his shoe, then at his face. I memorized both. The result is an F rank, he said. Remove him. 2 stone guards walked me to the side door. The ranking wall followed my exit with one final red flash. 418th. Scholarship suspended. Dorm access ending at midnight. Meal credit reduced to 0. I had 7 copper coins in my pocket. Death had given me a new life and a financial situation that could kill it before breakfast. I spent the next hour in an unused courtyard behind the old craft rooms. Summoners respected sewing about as much as wolves respected salad. 98 meters of yarn remained. The side door opened. Iris stepped into the courtyard. She wore the same gray uniform, but green thread had been stitched around her cuffs. She held a folded cloth in both hands. I collected these before the cleaners arrived, she said. Inside the cloth lay every piece of my bird. Why? I asked. Because its wing tried to reach you. That was a better answer than sympathy. She sat on the opposite end of the bench. She did not ask whether I was all right. I appreciated that. I was alive. The bird was not. The order of repairs was obvious. I joined the torn ends and retied the body. Iris watched my fingers instead of my face. "Those are load knots," she said. "I used to work with cables." "Before the academy?" "Something like that." When I tightened the last loop, the courtyard vanished from my senses for one heartbeat. A calm voice spoke inside my head. "A creature has been formed entirely by your hands. The rule of empty contracts has been broken. A hidden class path has opened." I did not see a glowing window. I heard each word as clearly as if someone stood behind me. "The first class is Familiar Binder. The second is Life Weaver. The final class is Lord of the Thread Legion. Only the first class is currently available." "Except," I said. Iris blinked. "Except what?" The bird kicked inside my hands. It hopped once, fell on its beak, stood again, and glared at the ground as if the ground had attacked first. Iris stopped breathing. The voice returned. "The familiar required 2 meters of thread and 8 units of mana. 92 units of mana remain. The familiar has the simple ability of its shape. A bird can fly." The little creature beat its wings. It rose past my face, circled the dead vine, and landed on Iris's head. She stayed completely still. "Rylan," she whispered, "your laundry is sitting on me. It has good judgment." The bird pecked her hair. "I withdraw my support." I almost smiled. It was the first moment since dying that did not feel borrowed. Iris tied a second bird using the same pattern. Nothing happened. I retied her final knot, and the bird woke. Only my hands mattered. I unraveled the copy before making more. Its 8 units of mana did not return. I made a spider from 3 meters and 10 units of mana. It produced a sticky line that stretched 4 meters. I made a knee-high wolf from 12 meters and 25 units. It had no teeth, but it followed the copper coin's scent and found it beneath my boot in 9 seconds. 3 creatures stood around me. 49 units of mana remained. When I tried to begin a fourth, pain stabbed from my fingertips to my elbows. The voice warned me that my active limit was 3. That was useful. A clear limit was better than a surprise collapse. Iris placed a strip of cloth around my reddened fingers. "Your bird is weak enough for Garth to tear with 2 hands, she said. "Your spider cannot hold a training cat. Your wolf has no bite." "Correct. You look pleased." "A normal student receives 1 beast. I received a method." The academy bell rang 3 times. A shout followed. "Bronze fox loose. 18 silver to the candidate who captures it alive." Iris looked toward the gate. Then she looked at my 3 familiars. "That fox is an E-rank training beast. 18 silver buys food for 9 days. It also bites. So does hunger." We reached the main yard with more than 100 candidates. The bronze fox was the size of a dog, with metal scales and a tail that could crack stone. A hawk and 2 hounds already searched for it. Garth stood beside the open cage. His own red hound sniffed the air while he issued orders. Recording crystals floated over the yard, and the ranking wall displayed a silver timer. 1 minute had already passed. Garth saw me and raised his eyebrows. "Did you come to offer it a scarf?" The candidates laughed. The sound was smaller this time. I set the bird on my wrist. "Fine movement from above." The bird launched itself into the air. Several people stopped laughing. I sent the wolf to the broken cage. It pressed its nose against 1 bronze scale, then ran toward the kitchen wing. The spider climbed my sleeve and waited. Garth's hound pulled him toward a drain, and 20 candidates followed. My bird tugged once through the bond in my chest. I felt no words. I saw only a brief angle of sunlight and a bronze tail beneath a vegetable cart. "Kitchen path," I said. Iris ran beside me. 6 candidates followed because curiosity was stronger than obedience. The wolf reached the cart first. It could not bite, so it struck the left wheel with its shoulder. The fox burst out on the right, its tail smashed through the wooden side of the cart. Cabbages rolled across the stones. The bird dropped before the fox's eyes. It snapped and missed. I threw the spider. It opened in the air, caught the cart handle, and laid 4 meters of web across the narrow path. The fox hit the web at full speed. The first line broke. The second stretched. The third wrapped around its front legs. The wolf hit its shoulder. The fox rolled into a basket of flour. A white cloud swallowed everything. For 2 seconds no one moved. Then the fox emerged looking like an angry loaf of bread. It tried to run. Its rear legs slipped on a cabbage. The spider wrapped its tail to the cart, and the wolf planted both front paws on the loose web. I caught the fox behind its front legs and held its jaws away from my face. The silver timer stopped. 47 seconds. The 6 candidates behind Iris stared at the number. One shouted that the yarn had caught it. Students and recording crystals rushed from the drain until more than 100 witnesses surrounded us. Garth arrived last. His red hound had a drain cover stuck around its neck. The hound looked like a table with anger issues. No one laughed at me. They laughed at Garth. His face turned the same color as his coat. "The capture is invalid," he said. "Those are tools, not familiars." Iris lifted one recording crystal. "The rule defines a familiar as an autonomous creature linked to the candidate's mana. The bird changed direction without a spoken command. The spider produced its own thread. The wolf tracked a scent. You are a first-year researcher. The recording does not care." The examination assistant hurried into the circle carrying a silver verification rod. The boy who had received my scholarship followed him. His smile was gone. The assistant touched the rod to my bird. The rod glowed green. A single word appeared above it: living. The first row gasped. The second repeated the word. 6 recording crystals caught Garth staring at the green light. The assistant tested the spider. Living. He tested the wolf. Living. The ranking wall changed. My F rank remained because only a full review could alter it, but my position rose from 418th to 401st. A new line appeared beneath my name. 3 verified familiars. 3 was the highest number owned by any first-year candidate. The bronze fox sneezed flour onto Garth's boots. The assistant faced him. "Instructor, Academy law requires you to recognize the result." Garth looked at me. I looked back. He had stepped on the bird's wing less than 5 hours earlier. Now the repaired bird stood on my shoulder and watched him with one crooked thread eye. "Say it clearly," I said. "The recording crystals are noisy." A few students covered their mouths. Garth's jaw worked. "Rylan has produced 3 living familiars." The yard erupted. Some cheered for the miracle. Others cheered because public humiliation was free and dinner was not. The assistant handed me 18 silver coins and 3 sealed spools from the capture reward. He also restored my room and meal access for 3 days while the scholarship review remained open. Garth could not stop him. Too many people were watching. I counted the coins twice. 20 silver made 1 gold in the academy market. My strength had risen from nothing to 3 familiars. My money had risen from 7 copper to 18 silver and 7 copper. My public position had risen 17 places. It was not a victory large enough to make me careless. It was large enough to buy time. By sunset, the story had reached every dormitory. 3 rejected students waited at the craft room. Jasper carried maps. Milo held a box of anchors. Theo wore 2 recording crystals. "We saw the fox," Jasper said. "We saw Garth's face," Theo added. Milo placed the anchor box on the table. "I brought useful things." That was how the Academy's weakest club gained 5 members. Iris used my restored meal credit before someone changed his mind. Thick chicken stew steamed with soft potatoes, sweet carrots, buttered onions, and tender meat. Milo brought garlic bread. Jasper found baked apples dusted with sugar. Theo poured honey tea. We ate around the scarred work table. The bird stole a piece of carrot and discovered that wet food made its head heavy. The spider hung beneath the table and caught crumbs in a tiny web. The wolf rested against my boot even though it did not need warmth. For the first time in either of my lives, a room felt quiet, without feeling empty. Iris sat beside me and examined the cuts around my fingertips. 3 familiars in 1 afternoon, she said. "How many tomorrow?" "The current limit is 3. That was not my question. I looked at the new spools. Each held 50 meters. The Academy believed it had rewarded me with craft supplies. I saw 150 meters of possible life. "Tomorrow," I said, "I find out how limits break." The others left before the dorm bell. Iris stayed long enough to cover the food and lock the supply cabinet. At the doorway, she looked back at the uneven bird on my shoulder. "Garth tore it because he was afraid," she said. "Of a 2-meter bird? Of being wrong in public. Then tomorrow may be difficult for him." She laughed once and closed the door. I prepared to sleep on the narrow couch. The bird suddenly lifted its head. It flew toward a cracked board in the far wall and disappeared through the gap. I felt it descend. 10 meters. 20. 30. The bond should have faded beyond 50 meters. Instead, it became stronger. The bird returned carrying a strand of black thread in its beak. The strand was thicker than the white yarn forming its legs. It was cold, damp, and covered in tiny knots that I had never tied. One end vanished through the crack beneath the floor. I touched it. Every familiar in the room froze. Something far below the Academy pulled the strand tight. The force lifted the work table one finger above the floor. Then the black thread pulled back. By dawn, the black strand had gone slack again. I marked the crack in the floor with chalk and placed the bird beside it. If anything below moved, the bird would find me. I had a more immediate problem. A closure notice waited on the craft room door. It said the club had 5 registered members, but no completed mission. Under Academy law, a new club had until sunset to prove that it could earn its own resources. Failure meant the room, tools, and remaining supplies would be transferred to the highest-ranked club. Someone had signed the notice less than an hour after Jasper, Milo, and Theo joined us. Garth's signature sat at the bottom. Theo read it twice. He works quickly when the work is unpleasant. That is still a kind of talent, I said. Iris arrived with breakfast before the first bell. She had filled a covered basket with fried eggs, crisp potatoes, onion, and small rolls brushed with butter. Steam escaped when Milo opened it. The wolf sat beside his chair and stared at the eggs with perfect concentration. It cannot eat, Iris said. Milo moved his plate farther away. It can judge. We ate while Jasper spread a mission map across the table. Only one task remained open to an unranked club. The West Greenhouse had reported thread mites in its moon silk plants. The listed threat was F rank. The reward was 40 silver. Convenient, Jasper said. The plants produce summoning silk. The best club buys most of it. Theo touched one of his recording crystals. The best club is led by Seth. I knew that name from the ranking wall. Seth held first place among second-year students. He owned a silver lion, 2 windhawks, and a family contract with one of the largest beast farms in the capital. His club had won the Academy tournament 3 years in a row. The door opened before Theo finished speaking. Seth entered with 6 students in blue club coats. He was broad-shouldered, well-dressed, and calm. He did not need to shout. Everyone in the academy already knew that his words carried money behind them. He looked at the bird on the windowsill. My family will pay you 30 gold for the method, he said. I finished my tea. No. He seemed surprised by the speed of the answer. You have 7 copper and 18 silver. Your scholarship is suspended. 30 gold is more than you could save in 2 years. Then the method is worth more than 30 gold. Jasper lowered his face to hide a smile. Seth walked to the work table. The wolf stood between us. Its back reached only his knee, but it did not move aside. Thread animals will frighten investors, he said. People pay for bloodlines, loyalty, and proven contracts. If every child can make a wolf from yarn, the public will stop respecting real summoners. Every child cannot. That makes it worse. It gives one unknown student control over the supply. His motive was clear. He was not protecting tradition. He was protecting a price. Seth placed 40 silver on the table. Sell today, or clear the greenhouse. If you fail, this room becomes mine at sunset. I will still buy the method, but the price will be 4 silver. He turned toward the door. Your club record is 31 minutes, I said. He stopped. For that greenhouse, I continued. I saw the board yesterday. That record has stood for 2 years. Leave the 40 silver. If we are slower, you can take it back. More students had gathered outside the open door. Seth could not refuse without looking afraid of an F-rank club. He smiled. Agreed. Theo lifted his recording crystal. Recorded. Seth's smile became thinner. The West Greenhouse was a glass building longer than the main hall. 32 club symbols appeared on the public mission wall outside it. Ours sat at the bottom, gray and nearly invisible. Seth's golden lion occupied the top. An examiner sealed the doors behind us. The academy broadcast began. Students filled the observation gallery, while hundreds more watched the central ranking wall. I entered with 3 active familiars and 6 folded shapes in my pack. Iris had measured every thread. Jasper carried the map. Milo held 4 iron anchors. Theo recorded our time. The first moon silk bed looked peaceful. Silver leaves shone beneath the glass roof. Then 6 black mites dropped from the ceiling. Each was as large as my hand. The bird dived. Its wings struck the first mite into the soil. The wolf pinned 2 beneath its paws. My spider tied 3 together before they reached Iris. The last mite leaped toward my face. Milo put an iron anchor in its path. The mite hit the metal and fell as flat as a coin. Useful things, Milo said. The first bed took 54 seconds. A new knot appeared beneath the bird's left wing. Another formed on the wolf's front leg. The spider gained one on its body. They were small and hard, and I knew I had not tied them. The voice inside my head spoke. A familiar that completes a dangerous task may form an experience knot. An experience knot preserves one lesson. 3 familiars have survived their first mission stage. Your active limit has risen from 3 to 6. That was the first hidden result. The creatures did not simply live, they learned. I sat on the soil and tied 3 prepared shapes from my pack. 1 bird, 1 spider, and 1 wolf woke beneath my hands. My mana fell to 57 units, but the greenhouse restored it 1 unit at a time. 6 familiars moved into the second bed. We found no thread mites. We found an acid beetle. It was longer than my arm. Green fluid pulsed beneath the plates of its abdomen. Jasper looked at the mission map, then at the creature. That is not F rank. The beetle fired. I pushed Iris aside. Acid struck the first spider and erased half its body before it touched the ground. The bond snapped inside my chest. The spider's experience knot vanished with it. The smell was sharp enough to burn my nose. 3 more beetles climbed from beneath the moonsilk roots. Theo aimed his crystal at them. The broadcast has the rank evidence. Good, I said. Keep it alive. We could leave. A false mission rank allowed an immediate withdrawal without penalty. Then I saw the beetles chewing the silver roots. If they reached the main bed, the greenhouse would lose 200 meters of mature silk. The club would close. Seth would buy the ruined crop for almost nothing. I gave the order to spread out. The first acid shot had taken 1 second from the green pulse to release. The surviving bird's new knot tightened when the next beetle's abdomen began to glow. The bird moved before I commanded it. Acid passed beneath its tail. It had learned the warning. Watch the old bird, I said. When its knot tightened again, I pulled Iris left. Jasper dropped flat. Milo raised an anchor. Theo stepped behind him. 3 streams of acid crossed the empty place where we had stood. The observation gallery exploded with noise. They had seen it too. My familiars were weak. That remained true. A single shot could destroy them. But the beetles had only 1 attack, and now my oldest bird knew when it was coming. The bird dived whenever it sensed the green pulse. I used its movement as a signal. The wolves struck beetle legs from the sides. The remaining spiders tied those legs to the moon silk frames. Milo drove anchors through the webs. The beetles pulled hard enough to bend metal, but every struggle wrapped them tighter. We cleared the second bed in 5 minutes and 12 seconds. The voice announced that 4 more experience knots had formed. My active limit rose to 9. I had 62 units of mana. I tied 4 small spiders. We moved deeper. The third bed held 12 beetles and a queen twice their size. The gallery went silent. Seth's 31-minute record had been set against thread mites. Someone had changed the mission tag after the dangerous beetles appeared. The public board now displayed the correct C rank in bright orange. It also displayed our elapsed time. 8 minutes and 40 seconds. The queen's abdomen lit like a green lantern. Every new familiar waited for my command. Only the old bird reacted early. 1 lesson belonged to the creature that had earned it. I could not copy the knot. I could only use the veteran as the center of the plan. Jasper, shortest path to the water channel. He pointed between 2 planting frames. 30 paces. Milo, anchors at the channel gate. Theo, keep the queen in the recording. And me? Iris asked. I handed her the loose end of 3 spools. Do not let my supply roll into the acid. She wrapped the spools in both arms. At last, a heroic roll. I sent the old bird over the queen. The green pulse began. The bird turned. 9 familiars moved with my hands and voice. They were not yet connected to each other. 2 collided. 1 wolf ran into a planting pot. A spider attached its web to Milo's belt and nearly pulled his trousers off. The gallery laughed. Then the acid fired. All 9 were already outside its path. The laughter became a roar. Birds struck beetle eyes. Wolves drove the outer beetles inward. Spiders webbed the mass from 3 sides. The queen tore through every line in front of it, exactly as I expected. I retreated toward the water channel. The queen followed. Its legs sounded like knives on glass. At 10 paces, it fired again. The old bird turned. I stepped aside. Acid melted the gate chain behind me. The water gate opened. A cold flood rushed through the bed. Acid beetles hated water. 12 of them folded their legs and floated like ugly green barrels. The queen remained upright, but the current drove it onto Milo's anchors. My spiders covered those anchors with web. The wolves pulled from the opposite bank. The queen fell on its back. I jumped onto its shell and tied its legs together with the final prepared line. The mission wall sounded a clear bell. 14 minutes and 20 seconds. For 1 heartbeat, the greenhouse was quiet. Then the observation gallery shook with shouting. We had faced a threat 3 ranks above the listing. We had protected every moon silk route. We had cut Seth's record by more than half. Theo's crystal showed every second. The mission wall changed our gray club symbol to blue. We rose from 32nd place to 16th. My active limit increased to 12. The 9 surviving familiars carried a total of 7 experience knots. 3 more folded shapes waited in my pack, and I had enough recovered mana to wake them before leaving. When the greenhouse doors opened, the crowd blocked the path. Students stared at the old bird. Some pointed at its knot. Others asked Iris whether the creatures could remember spells. 2 instructors examined the beetles and confirmed their C rank. The greenhouse keeper counted every undamaged plant twice. Garth pushed through the crowd with Seth behind him. A water gate did the work, Garth said. Any club could have opened it. Any club could have, Jasper replied. Seth's did not. The crowd made a low sound. Seth looked at the mission wall. His golden lion still held first place overall, but his greenhouse record was gone. Our white thread bird now occupied that line. The wager was for an F-rank mission, he said. Theo held up the recording crystal. You selected the mission. The Academy corrected the rank during the broadcast. A harder mission does not cancel a speed wager. You expect me to accept the judgment of an unranked club? The greenhouse keeper arrived carrying 2 sealed documents. No, she said. You will accept mine. She awarded us 2 gold for clearing a C-rank infestation without losing a plant. She added 200 meters of waxed moon silk that the beetles had damaged but not destroyed. Then she took Seth's 40 silver from the work table deposit and placed it in my hand. More than 200 students watched him lose the wager. I counted the coins slowly because public accounting prevented later confusion. Seth watched each coin fall into my pouch. 30 gold, he said quietly. The offer remains open until tomorrow. Tomorrow the price will be higher. The students nearest us heard. By the time we crossed the yard, the sentence had reached the ranking wall. By the time we entered the dining hall, someone had changed it into a rumor that the capital had offered me 300 gold. I did not correct them. A growing price was useful even when it was imaginary. That evening, our craft room smelled of butter, pepper, and toasted bread. Milo fried slices of the greenhouse keeper's gift mushrooms until their edges turned gold. Iris added cream and herbs to a pot of rice. Jasper cut roasted chicken into equal pieces because he distrusted Theo's idea of equal. We ate while the experienced knotted bird hopped between cups and avoided every hand that tried to catch it. It had learned people too. My money had risen above 3 gold. Our supply had risen by 200 meters. Our club had climbed 16 places. Yet the most valuable gain rested beneath one uneven wing. 7 knots meant 7 preserved lessons. After the others left, Iris and I returned to the greenhouse. The black strand beneath our floor had pointed west. I wanted to know whether it reached the moon silk beds. The old bird led us to a drain behind the queen's nest. My surviving spider entered first. It carried 2 experience knots and had learned both the acid pulse and the pull of deep water. The drain opened into a narrow stone chamber. A black thread crossed the chamber from wall to wall. It was as thick as my wrist. The spider stepped toward it. The strand moved once. I felt the spider's 2 experience knots tighten in warning, but neither lesson matched the attack. The black thread cut through the spider without slowing. Both knots went dark. Before the pieces touched the floor, a new knot formed on the black strand. It had learned how to kill my familiar. I pulled Iris back before the black strand could move again. We sealed the drain with Milo's anchors and reported the chamber to the Academy. By sunrise, the report had disappeared. The west greenhouse was open. The stone chamber was locked. Garth claimed that no black thread had been found. Theo still possessed the recording, but the final 10 seconds had become a gray blur. Someone could reach the Academy records, the greenhouse locks, and a crystal protected by 3 seals. That narrowed the list less than I liked. Our immediate enemy used a louder method. At the morning assembly, Seth challenged our right to enter the team tournament. He stood beneath the ranking wall with his silver lion beside him. The beast's shoulder reached his chest. Its mane shone like a ring of blades. Behind him waited 2 windhawks, a stone boar, and a mirror snake. One swipe from the lion could turn my wolf into loose yarn. More than 600 students filled the hall. Instructors occupied the upper gallery. Dean Lars watched from a central balcony. Seth raised an official scroll. Tournament rules require a club to field living contracted beasts, he said. Ryland's objects carry life, but no individual soul contract. If manufactured tools enter the arena, every rule concerning injury, surrender, and beast welfare becomes meaningless. That argument was better than an insult. It was also dangerous. The hall divided at once. Some students wanted to see Yarn fight a lion. Others had spent their family's savings on real contracts and did not want cheap thread placed beside them. The ranking wall displayed a public vote. Support for our removal rose to 61%. Garth stood near the arena gate. His expression told me he had helped write the challenge. Iris stepped forward with the green verification record. The Academy already confirmed that the familiars are alive. Alive is not the same as safe, Seth replied. Can they understand pain? Can they surrender? Do they retain memories? If one is destroyed, does Rylan lose anything except 2 meters of yarn? I thought of the spider's 2 knots going dark. Yes, I said. I lose something. Seth turned toward me. Then prove that they are a team instead of disposable ammunition. Dean Lars finally rose. He was a large man with tired eyes and a plain black coat. He did not look pleased with either side. The Academy cannot send an unclassified life form into the capital tournament, he said. It also cannot ignore 3 successful verification tests. Therefore, the Thread Club will receive a provisional team trial. The wall changed behind him. 30 flags would be placed in the forest arena. Our club would face Seth's first-ranked club at noon. A flag returned to a home circle was worth 1 point. Direct attacks on students were forbidden. Familiar combat was allowed. If we earned fewer than 10 points, we would be removed from the tournament. If we earned none, the club would close for unsafe classification. Seth had won the same arena 7 times without allowing an opponent more than 3 points. The vote shifted. Now 74% expected us to fail. Dean Lars looked directly at me. Do you accept? Add 1 condition, I said. If we earn all 30 flags, our classification challenge ends. Laughter broke across Seth's side of the hall. The dean studied me for several seconds. Accepted. The ranking wall announced the trial to the entire academy. Food stalls opened around the arena before breakfast ended. Students began placing private bets. Our odds started at 20-1 and fell to 12-1 when someone replayed the greenhouse battle. We had 3 hours. In the craft room, Iris placed the full 200-meter moonsilk skein on the table. You have tied every familiar from a separate cut length, she said. What happens if the lengths come from one unbroken skein? They came from the same reward, not the same ball. The Academy waxed this silk as one continuous strand. Cut it only after each final knot. I unraveled 2 familiars that had no experience knots, then tested the idea with 2 birds. I tied the first at one end of the work table, measured 4 meters without severing the line, and tied the second. Only then did I cut both free. The birds woke. I touched the left bird's wing. The right bird turned its head. I pulled lightly on the first bird's tail. The second stepped backward. Both pieces remembered the tension of the original skein. I reopened the final knots of the 10 surviving familiars and joined them to that source one by one. Their experienced knots remained intact. The voice spoke inside my head. A common source has linked multiple living forms. Shared tension has been discovered. Familiars from one skein can sense force, direction, and alarm from each other. They do not share thoughts. That distinction mattered. 30 minds would have broken my concentration. 30 simple signals could create an army. The voice continued. The conditions for Lifeweaver have begun. Form 12 linked familiars and complete 1 coordinated task. We worked. Jasper drew 4 useful shapes on the arena map. Birds could cross the canopy, spiders could block paths, wolves could run and track, small mice could fit through the flag cages. Iris measured every section. Theo watched the clock. Milo wound finished forms around flat wooden frames so they would not tangle. Only I tied the last knots. After the 12th familiar woke, I placed a hand on the work table. The entire room trembled with tiny pulls. A bird flapped. 3 spiders shifted toward it. A wolf looked at the window. A mouse hid under Milo's sleeve. Milo stared at the moving lump near his elbow. I support the team, he said. I do not support surprises inside my clothes. The coordinated task completed when all 12 crossed the room without colliding. The voice announced that Familiar Binder had advanced into Lifeweaver. My active limit rose from 12 to 30. My mana capacity did not increase. Supporting more bodies only divided the same strength among them. That was the price. At noon, I entered the forest arena with 30 familiars, 8 birds, 8 spiders, 8 wolves, and 6 mice. Each creature was lighter and more fragile than the ones I had used the previous day. One strong impact could destroy it. Seth entered through the opposite gate with 5 beasts. The stands were full. Additional students watched from classroom crystals. The ranking wall placed the score above the forest. 0-0. Seth's silver lion roared. The force hit like a door kicked by a giant. 4 birds fell from the air. 3 spiders rolled across the ground. Every mouse froze. The audience cheered. Seth lifted one hand. 30 toys, he called. Still less than 1 beast. His lion charged. I pulled 1 veteran bird upward. Its movement sent an alarm through the shared skein. Every familiar felt the direction. The wolves split left and right. The spiders climbed. The mice vanished beneath roots. The lion struck empty soil. The audience's cheer broke in the middle. Seth sent his hawks after my birds. I did not try to win the sky. I sent 2 thread birds in opposite directions. The hawks followed. Every turn created a pull that the ground familiars sensed. Without seeing the hawks, my spiders knew when they passed overhead. They raised lines between branches at the right moment. The first hawk tore through 2 webs. The third wrapped around its legs. It landed safely but could not rise. The second hawk caught a bird. The bird came apart in its claws. The shared thread went silent where that life had been. I felt the absence. I kept moving. Jasper pointed toward 3 flag locations on the map. Theo raised a white signal cloth. Milo planted anchors around our home circle. Iris held the main skein against her chest and called out changes in its pull. 6 moving east, 4 climbing north. Something heavy coming straight at us. The stone boar entered the clearing like a cupboard thrown down a hill. Milo set both feet behind an anchor. I have met furniture like this before. The boar hit the first web. It broke. It hit the second. The line stretched. 6 spiders felt the pull and added their own strands from the trees. The boar dragged them all for 10 paces, then struck Milo's anchor and turned sideways. 3 mice ran across its back carrying flags. The first points appeared, 3-0. The stands grew louder. Seth ordered his mirror snake into the grass. Its scales copied the color of the ground. My eyes lost it immediately. The thread wolves did not need to see. 1 caught its scent. The alarm traveled through the skein, and 7 others changed direction together. They did not attack the snake. They led it in a circle while 2 mice entered the cage it had guarded. 5-0. Seth's smile disappeared. His lion roared again. This time, the surviving veterans recognized the pressure 1 instant earlier. New knots tightened along 2 wolves and 1 bird. Their alarm traveled through the common skein. All 27 remaining familiars dropped flat before the roar reached them. The force passed overhead. The audience stood up. I heard thousands of feet strike the benches. The public vote on the ranking wall changed faster than the score. Support for our removal fell from 74% to 40%, then 28%. The weak creatures were learning as a group, not because the lesson had been copied, but because the veterans could warn the rest. Seth understood it too. "Destroy the old bird," he ordered. Both hawks turned toward the uneven veteran. The bird flew low through the trees. 1 hawk broke free of its web and followed. The silver lion abandoned the center to intercept. The mirror snake cut across the ground. 3 powerful beasts chased 2 meters of ugly yarn. The bird led them through every empty flagpost in the western half of the arena. Behind them, mice and wolves carried the flags home. 10-0, 14-0, 19-0. Each change struck the crowd like a drumbeat. Seth ran toward his lion and shouted a new command. Direct student attacks were forbidden, but he could defend his own home circle. He placed the stone boar at the entrance and coiled the mirror snake around the remaining flags. I had 21 points. 9 flags remained. I sent every visible familiar toward the home circle. Seth saw the charge and laughed. "At last!" The lion roared. The boar rushed forward. The snake opened its mirrored hood. My wolves scattered. Spiders flew apart. Birds struck the ground. The crowd groaned. They had watched the movement, not the tension. 6 mice had entered the flag cage from below. Each mouse tied 1 flag cord to the next. A spider hidden beneath the platform attached the chain to the common skein. Iris felt the pull from our home circle. "Now," she said. Milo and I pulled the source line together. 9 flags slid out through the narrow drainage gap. Seth turned in time to see them vanish beneath his boots. The mice carried the chain through the roots. Wolves took it at the tree line. Birds lifted the front cords over rocks. Every surviving familiar added 1 small pull. The flags crossed our circle. The score changed from 21 to 30. Seth still had 0. The arena bell rang. For a moment, even the silver lion stopped moving, then the entire academy shouted. The sound shook leaves from the artificial trees. Students climbed onto benches. First years waved pieces of white string. Theo turned his crystal toward the ranking wall, where the final score filled every panel. 30-0. Seth stood in the center of his 5 undefeated beasts, while 30 empty flag posts surrounded him. Dean Lars entered the arena with 3 examiners. He inspected the common skein, the surviving familiars, and the records. No borrowed beast had been used. No student had been attacked. 23 thread creatures had survived. The provisional trial is complete, he announced. The Thread Club is recognized as a legal team. Its classification challenge is closed. Our symbol rose from 16th place to 4th. The public vote ended with 89% supporting our entry. Seth approached me while the broadcast crystals remained active. You built 30 disposable bodies to protect 1 bird, he said. You moved 5 rare beasts to chase it. Laughter rolled across the stands. He looked up at his own score. This was a flag game. Yes. That is why collecting no flags was a problem. The laughter became louder. Seth's family emblem disappeared from the greenhouse record, then from the tournament favorite panel. The Academy sponsor awarded our club 20 gold and 300 meters of silver-treated thread for the clean victory. My strength had risen to 30 active familiars. Our funds had risen above 23 gold. Our club had climbed 12 more places and entered the top 4. Garth attempted to leave through the lower gate. Dean Lars stopped him in front of the crowd. The greenhouse record confirms that the mission rank was altered through an instructor account, he said. Your access is suspended pending review. Garth looked at me, but there was nothing I needed to say. The ranking wall said it for me. His name turned gray beneath the mission board while mine remained beside the new record. That night, we filled the craft room with the smell of beef broth, roasted garlic, and fresh noodles. Iris cracked soft eggs into 5 bowls. Jasper added green onions. Milo cut thick slices of peppered beef. Theo had purchased a berry cake with the first coin from our sponsor and guarded it more fiercely than Seth had guarded his flags. The surviving familiars rested on shelves and chairbacks. Tiny new knots marked the ones that had endured the lion's roar. Iris wrapped both my hands in clean bandages before allowing me to touch a spoon. You saved the first bird, she said. It knew the attack. That is not the only reason. I looked at the crooked creature asleep beside my bowl. No, I said. It is not. She smiled and passed me the noodles. The room was warm. Outside, students were still repeating the score. Inside, the wolf leaned against Milo, the mice slept in Jasper's map case, and Theo divided the cake into 6 pieces because he counted the bird. Then every familiar woke. All 30 turned toward the floor. The silver-treated skein lifted from Iris's hands. A steady pull drew it toward the chalk mark above the crack. This was not an attack. It was a signal. Slow and heavy. We followed it into the old storage cellar beneath the clubroom. Milo removed 3 loose stones. Cold air rose through the opening. Below us lay a foundation chamber larger than the greenhouse. Black threads crossed the darkness. Some were as thin as hair. Others were thicker than trees. They ran through the stone walls, around the pillars, and upward into the academy towers. Jasper unrolled his map with shaking hands. The visible lines matched the shape of the school. I touched the nearest strand. The common skein in my other hand pulled in answer. The academy was not standing over a giant knot. The academy was inside it. Dean Lars arrived in the foundation chamber before the sun rose. He brought no guards and no recording crystal. That told me he knew more than his report would admit. He stood beneath the black strands and looked older than he had in the arena. This chamber does not exist on the current academy plans, he said. Jasper held up his copied map. It exists on the building. Lars did not argue. He explained that the oldest academy records described a great binding beneath the hill. The founders had built the first tower around it more than 300 years ago. Only 7 pages of the original plans remained. Every director had been ordered to inspect the lower seals once a year and report that they were stable. Were they stable? I asked. He looked at the wrist-thick strand that had killed my spider. They were quiet. That was not an answer. I examined the nearest column-sized line. Its surface contained thousands of old knots. Some resembled bird wings, others looked like paws, tails, and closed eyes. The entire pattern had been built from forms hidden inside forms. One junction near the western wall had lost 3 loops. Black fibers hung from it like torn muscle. It is coming apart, Iris said. Slowly, Lars replied. The academy has stood for centuries. A bridge stands until the last cable fails, I said. He looked at me sharply. Before he could answer, the morning bells rang above us. A 4th bell joined them, low and metallic. Lars closed his eyes. The Capitol inspector arrived early. Quentin entered the academy with 40 guards, 6 legal clerks, and a black carriage large enough to contain a small house. Students lined the front steps. Instructors bowed. Recording crystals from the Capitol floated around him like glass insects. He wore a white coat marked with the seal of the Council of Living Contracts. A golden bell hung from his belt. The council licensed every summoning school, registered every legal beast, and taxed every contract sale. Seth's family business existed because the council approved its bloodlines. Our club existed because too many witnesses had seen Garth fail to erase us. Quentin stopped in front of my 30 familiars. "Which one contains the primary soul?" he asked. "None." "Which spirit did you contract?" "None." "Which registered species grants the animation?" "None." He looked almost offended by the repeated answer. "Then these are prohibited constructs." The students on the steps began whispering. Our club symbol remained fourth on the wall, but a red question mark appeared beside it. Dean Lars came down the steps. The academy verified them as living familiars. "The academy also allowed an instructor to falsify a C-rank mission as F-rank," Quentin replied. "Your judgment is under review." Garth stood behind the legal clerks without his red coat. He had given the Capitol inspector every weakness he knew. Quentin faced me. "The council will pay 300 gold for the creatures, the method, and 1 year of supervised study in the Capitol." The offer spread through the crowd. 300 gold was 25 months of my stolen scholarship. It was enough to buy the old craft wing. "Do I keep ownership of the method?" I asked. "The council keeps dangerous knowledge in trust for the public." "Then no." He spoke more quietly. "A living army without individual contracts could ignore every safety law in the kingdom. You believe this is about money because you have never watched a beast turn on a city." That was the first honest thing he said. "I watched a cable kill people because the men responsible called visible damage safe," I replied. "I will not hand my method to officials who erase reports." His eyes shifted toward Lars. The dean's face did not change, but I knew the sentence had reached its target. Quentin raised the golden bell. "Then the creatures will undergo a capital null test before they enter today's tournament bracket. If they fail, they will be destroyed." The inspection arena opened 1 hour later. Every seat was filled. The academy placed ordinary contracted beasts in 12 protected circles around the field. Seth stood with his silver lion in the largest circle. He did not look at me. I entered with 30 linked familiars. Quentin addressed the broadcast. "A true familiar is joined to a human soul through a lawful contract. The null bell interrupts that connection without lasting harm. Any creature that continues to move is either independent and uncontrolled or driven by forbidden external magic." His test offered no safe answer. If my familiars fell, he would call them ordinary summons. If they stood, he would call them illegal. Iris had already seen the trap. "Make the result useful," she told me from behind the barrier. Quentin rang the bell. The sound passed through my bones. Seth's lion collapsed. The windhawks fell from their perches. Hounds, cats, snakes, and armored lizards dropped inside the protected circles as their contracts went silent. My 30-thread creatures remained standing. The uneven bird flew to the top of the golden bell and sat on it. The arena laughed. Quentin shook the bell. The bird lifted one finger above it, waited, and landed again. The laughter doubled. His face stayed calm, but his hand tightened around the handle. As I warned, they do not obey contract law. "They obey different physics," Iris called. "The test confirms they contain local life rather than a summoned spirit." The legal clerks began arguing with one another. Half the audience repeated her sentence. Theo's recording crystal sent a close view of the active familiars to the ranking wall. The voice spoke inside my head. 30 living forms have remained active without a summoning bond. The class has recognized independent life. Your active limit has risen from 30 to 60. There was the next consequence. Anti-magic designed for summons could not dismiss something that had never been summoned. Quentin rang the bell a second time. He poured so much mana into it that cracks appeared in the arena tiles. Every ordinary beast remained unconscious. One of his ceremonial griffins slid from its platform and landed in a table of fruit. Melons rolled across the field. The uneven bird rode one of them for 3 paces before falling off. Even Seth laughed at that. Quentin lowered the bell. "Proceed to the stress test." Metal shutters rose around the arena. Heat entered from 4 sides. The official plan Iris had inspected allowed a temperature high enough to test common summoning fur. The gauges in front of us climbed beyond that level. Quentin was not trying to test yarn. He was trying to burn evidence. I had expected it. We had spent 18 gold before the arena opened. The silver-treated thread from our sponsor had been soaked in mineral wash, wrapped in wet clay dust, and dried above the kitchen ovens. It was ordinary protection. Any tailor could have made it. No one had used it for familiars, because no one else could make familiars from thread. I opened Milo's cases, 30 dormant shapes I had tied before the test woke as the new limit reached them. My mana spread across 60 bodies. They became lighter, their movements slowed, but none disappeared under the null field. Heat rolled over them, smoke rose from the mineral coating. 60 gray animals walked forward through the haze. They looked like an army of burned socks coming to complain. The crowd began counting aloud, 10, 20, 30. Quentin ordered the temperature higher. Iris lifted the approved test document toward the nearest capital crystal. Theo placed his live gauge beside it. The allowed mark was visible. The actual heat stood 40 degrees above it. The audience stopped counting. They started shouting. "Illegal test. Show the gauge. Turn it down." Dean Lars walked onto the field. He crossed the active heat barrier, opened the control box, and pulled out Quentin's authority seal. The seal had overridden the academy limit. Every recording crystal saw it. Lars held the seal above his head. "The stress test is void," he announced. "The Thread Club passes under the approved temperature, and the council's override is entered into the public record." Quentin's own legal clerks confirmed the seal because denying it would destroy their authority too. The red question mark vanished from our club symbol. A silver legal mark replaced it. The result escaped the arena before the smoke did. Students ran to every supply shop in the academy. Plain white yarn rose from 3 copper a meter to 9. By noon, the courtyards were full of badly tied birds, round wolves, and one object that its maker insisted was a horse. None moved. The laughter did not hurt us. Each failed copy proved that the secret was not the pattern alone. 3 merchants tried to buy space outside our clubroom. Iris rented one table for 5 silver and refused the other 2 because they wanted ownership of anything we made there. Theo posted that decision on the public board. Within an hour, our club had received 47 membership requests and 6 offers from researchers. We accepted no new members before the tournament. A crowded room was useful for applause, not for keeping a dangerous method safe. The stands erupted again. Students waved string, ribbons, belts, and anything else long enough to resemble thread. One boy waved a sausage until the person beside him took it away. Quentin had arrived to remove us in public. Instead, he had proven that our familiars survived the council's strongest contract weapon. The tournament began after noon. Our quarterfinal opponent used 8 armored hounds. Our 60 familiars were too weak to meet them directly. We used birds to pull their attention upward, spiders to bind their armor joints, and wolves to guide them into separate circles. The match ended in 9 minutes, with all 8 hounds unharmed. The spectators had expected the null test to be the day's miracle. The ranking wall gave them another. We advanced without losing one experienced familiar. The semi-final opponent controlled 3 crystal bears. Their hides cut ordinary web. Jasper found a narrow stone bridge on the arena map. Milo anchored 6 layers of line beneath it. The bears crossed, broke the first 5 layers, and stopped at the 6th. Thread mice carried the 3 victory seals from behind them. The match ended in 11 minutes. Our club rose from 4th place to 2nd. A capital textile house sent an offer before we left the field. It paid 80 gold for permission to display its thread beside our club symbol. It received no ownership of my method and no right to touch a familiar. Iris read every line twice before I signed. After our material costs, the club fund held more than 85 gold. We owned enough treated thread for 100 small familiars. 60 could live at once. Our name stood 1 step below first place. The academy dining hall had never welcomed us so warmly. The cook placed 2 roasted chickens at our table with glazed carrots, crisp potatoes, black bread, and a pot of honey gravy. Jasper cut the chicken. Milo guarded the potatoes from Theo. The familiars occupied the empty benches like a silent audience. Iris sat beside me and unwrapped my hands. The skin beneath the bandages was split at every finger joint. 60 is too many, she said. 60 is the current limit. Those sentences do not contradict each other. She cleaned each cut with warm water. I could feel every familiar as a faint pull behind my eyes. When a bird shifted on a beam, my thumb twitched. When a mouse fell asleep inside a breadbasket, my little finger grew warm. I had gained an army. I had also gained 60 directions in which it could hurt. Iris tied fresh cloth around my palms. Tomorrow's final does not matter if your hands stop working. The final matters to everyone who watched Garth step on that bird. I watched. Her hands paused around mine. You did not need to win for me to know what I saw. For one moment, the dining hall became quieter than the foundation chamber. Then Theo accused Milo of stealing the last potato, and the moment escaped. We returned to the main arena for the final announcement at sunset. Seth and his beasts waited on the opposite platform. He had reached the final through the other side of the bracket. The ranking wall placed his golden lion in first and our white bird in second. Seth stepped forward. I lost the trial, he said before the entire academy. I will not pretend otherwise. Tomorrow, I intend to fight better. That answer earned more respect than another excuse. Before Dean Lars could confirm the match, Quentin raised his authority seal. The council invokes the Capital Challenge Clause. 5 gates opened behind him. A bone tiger entered first. An iron-winged eagle followed. Then came a glass scorpion, a thunder ape, and a pale mantis whose front limbs closed like giant scissors. Each was A rank. The capital could insert 1 licensed selection team when a new familiar class threatened national standards. Quentin had brought that team inside his enormous carriage. Seth's face hardened. You are removing my club from its own final. Your loss in the provisional trial established that you cannot provide a sufficient test, Quentin said. The insult struck Seth almost as hard as our score had. The ranking wall changed. His golden lion fell to third. Quentin's black council seal took first. Our final opponent now held 5 A-rank beasts. The pale mantis demonstrated its reach by cutting an iron practice pillar into 4 pieces. Quentin looked at my bandaged hands. Bring every thread you own. The arena floor moved beneath his feet, only 1 finger at first. Then the western stands sank half a step. My 60 familiars turned toward the foundation at once. Far below us, one of the 3 missing loops came free. The academy steadied after 3 breaths. Lars closed the western stands, but Quentin refused to delay the final. I had one night, more than 85 gold, nearly 900 meters of thread, 60 active familiars, 40 unfinished shapes, and hands that could barely close. Seth came after midnight with his family's beast records. The bone tiger sees heat instead of color, he said. The iron eagle cannot turn sharply after a dive. The glass scorpion stores acid beneath its tail. The thunder ape releases power through both hands. The mantis feels vibration along every thread it touches. Why help us? Jasper asked. Quentin called my beasts insufficient in my own academy. I would like him to learn what that word feels like. It was not friendship. It was useful honesty. Iris designed 10 birds, 10 spiders, 10 wolves, and 10 mice. Milo prepared anchors. Jasper copied the channels, and Theo arranged the recording crystals. I tied until blood appeared through my bandages. At the 99th body, the voice inside my head spoke. 99 living forms have been created along 1 class path. 1 final form is required to complete the legion. The unfinished bird in my hands needed 1 knot. Iris covered my fingers with hers. You are shaking. I noticed. That was not praise. She warmed my hands in salted water. We ate melted cheese on bread, strips of roasted pork, and drank hot apple tea while rain tapped the windows. The uneven bird sat beside the unfinished 100th shape. I had died beneath cold rain and broken steel. I had awakened alone before 400 laughing strangers. Now 5 people waited for my hands to stop shaking. That was a resource the ranking wall could not count. Before dawn, I tied the final knot. The 100th creature opened its wings. All 100 familiars pulled at once. For one terrible moment, I felt 100 floors beneath 100 sets of feet. Then the signals arranged themselves. The voice spoke. The class path is complete. Lifeweaver has advanced into Lord of the Thread Legion. 100 linked forms may act through shared tension. Every form remains individually weak. Every loss remains permanent. The final class added no strength or armor. It gave order to 100 weak lives. The final arena held 12,000 spectators by sunrise. 27 academies watched through capital crystals. The ranking wall displayed the prize of 500 gold, first place, and a permanent tournament charter. Quentin stood beside the 5 A-rank beasts. Lars faced him from the opposite platform. Seth watched without his club coat. Our team walked through the lower gate. Jasper carried the map, Milo the anchors, Theo the records, and Iris the source skein. At first, the arena saw no familiars. Quentin looked at my empty hands. Did the thread finally understand its rank? I pulled the source line once. Birds rose from the map case, spiders unfolded from the anchor box, wolves stepped from beneath the benches, mice poured from hollow spools. The ranking crystal counted 10, 20, 50, 70, and finally 100. The audience rose before the count ended. 100 living signatures appeared beneath my name. The first-year student Garth had placed last now controlled more familiars than every club in the academy combined. Quentin did not smile. Begin. The bone tiger crossed 40 paces and tore through 3 wolves. The iron eagle destroyed 2 birds. Scorpion acid melted 4 spiders, and the thunder ape threw every mouse into the air. In the opening 6 seconds, I lost 9 familiars. Quentin's side of the arena cheered. The academy side went silent. 9 empty directions pulled at my mind. Expecting losses did not make them lighter. First pattern, I said. Jasper opened the map. Theo raised a signal. Milo anchored the channel. Iris tightened the source skein. The old bird's experience knot recognized the scorpion's green pulse. Its alarm crossed the thread, and 91 familiars moved before the acid fired. The stream missed all of them and struck the bone tiger. Acid hissed across its ribs. The tiger turned toward the scorpion. The crowd found its voice again. 3 wolves recognized the thunder ape's raised hands. Their warning dropped the legion flat, and the shockwave hit the diving eagle instead. Seth began laughing in the stands. 5 A-rank beasts, he called. Still less than 1 team. The academy repeated the sentence. Quentin ordered the pale mantis forward. It touched a web, felt the shared vibration, and charged Iris's source skein. Milo planted an anchor. The mantis cut through it, then sliced 6 of the 20 wolves I sent forward. The survivors wrapped their loose ends around its legs. Every cut gave them another line. Spiders and birds pulled until the mantis fell beneath a net made from the creatures it had destroyed. The ranking wall confirmed the first captured A-rank beast. The audience screamed. Quentin sent the heat-seeing tiger from the other side. 4 wolves carried a steaming pot beneath the iron eagle's path. Birds turned before the dive. The eagle could not, and it struck the tiger. Spiders captured both. The old bird warned us of the scorpion's next shot. Jasper turned a channel gate, and its own acid flowed back over its glass legs. It resisted poison, but could not walk after the liquid hardened. 4th capture. Only the thunder ape remained. The experienced wolves warned us when it raised its hands, but Quentin saw them. Change the attack, he ordered. The ape punched the ground instead. 7 mice vanished, 3 spiders hit the wall, and Iris fell. I caught the skein as blood ran through my bandages. Before it punched again, I sent every familiar toward it. Wolves wrapped its ankles. Spiders climbed its back. The old bird landed on its nose and made it raise both hands. Milo released the counterweight. 40 hidden webs caught those hands and pulled the ape into the channel. A mouse took the victory seal beneath its collar across our line. The final bell rang. 5 A-rank beasts had entered the field. 5 lay captured and alive. I had begun with 100 familiars. 61 remained. The ranking wall changed. The council seal fell from first place. Our white bird rose above it. The Thread Club became tournament champion. 12,000 spectators stood and threw white ribbons into the arena. Even the Capitol clerk stared at the 5 captured beasts. Quentin remained beside the judge's platform. Dean Lars handed him the winner's declaration. The Capitol Challenge Clause requires the council representative to announce the result, he said. Every crystal turned toward the man who had tried to nullify, burn, and buy my creatures. Quentin read the declaration. The Thread Club has won the team tournament with 100 verified living familiars. The audience demanded the final line. His eyes met mine. Rylan is recognized as the first Lord of the Thread Legion. The arena erupted again. My strength had reached 100 familiars. Our fund gained 500 gold. Our symbol held first place. I had begun at 0 strength, 7 copper, and last rank. Then the floor split beneath the ranking wall. The western stands dropped 1 full pace. Stone cracked through the victory circle. A tower bell screamed as its supports bent. Far below, the second missing loop came free. The celebration turned into panic. Dean Lars ordered the gates opened. Quentin's guards tried to call their beasts, but the damaged foundation released waves that broke normal contracts. The silver lion fell beside Seth. The capital griffins could not fly. My thread familiars remained awake. Evacuation pattern, I said. 61 creatures moved. Birds flew above the crowd and marked open exits. Wolves found children beneath fallen benches. Spiders spread safety lines across cracked stairs. Mice entered blocked passages and pulled guide cords behind them. Jasper directed the eastern stands. Milo held a broken gate with 2 anchors and his own back. Theo broadcast clear routes instead of fear. Iris stayed beside me with the source skein. The public watched the tournament winners become rescue workers. No one called them toys. We cleared the main arena in 4 minutes. 11,000 people reached the outer yards. The remaining spectators crossed spider bridges from the western stands. The central tower began to lean. I followed the deepest pull into the foundation chamber. Iris, Jasper, Milo, and Theo came with me. Seth carried his unconscious lion to the door, then returned on foot. Lars brought the surviving plans. Quentin arrived last with his authority seal and no guards. Black strands snapped across the giant pattern, the junction held by one frayed bend. If it broke, the western tower would tear down the other bindings. Lars spread the 7 old pages on the floor. The pages showed a sleeping guardian formed from thousands of beasts. Birds supported the towers, wolves circled the walls, and spiders joined the foundations. The western junction was a spider knot that spread pressure into the hill. The original spider had died centuries ago. "Can you replace it?" Iris asked. I counted the distance around the broken strands. A small spider would not hold them. The required body needed every piece of thread I possessed, not every spool, every familiar. The system voice confirmed what I already knew. A larger form may be tied from existing creations. All experience knots used in the new body will be lost. The resulting life cannot be divided again. 61 familiars waded through the academy. 38 broken bodies lay on the arena floor. Their severed thread still belonged to me. Only the first bird rested on my shoulder. I could keep the Legion and let the Academy fall, or I could turn the Legion into one final spider. The choice took less than a second. "Theo, tell everyone what this costs," I said. "No one will call it free." His crystal carried my words to the yards outside. I pulled the source skein. Familiars entered the foundation chamber from every passage. Wolves came first. Spiders followed. Birds descended through broken vents. Mice emerged from cracks in the walls. Each living shape stopped around the failing junction. I untied them with bleeding hands. One wolf became 12 meters of line. 3 experience knots went dark. One spider became 3 meters. Its memory of acid disappeared. Bird after bird opened its wings once, then rested in my palms as ordinary thread. Outside, thousands watched through Theo's crystal. The arena became silent. Seth knelt and helped gather loose lengths without touching the final knots. Lars used the old plans to guide the shape. Milo pulled column-thick strands into position with the anchors. Jasper measured the 8 legs across the chamber. Quentin pressed his council seal into a broken support and ordered every locked gate opened for the evacuation. Iris held the first bird. "This one stays," she said. I looked at the crooked wing Garth had torn on the first day. "This one stays." I used the other 99 familiars. Broken and surviving familiars formed a spider larger than the craft room. Its body wrapped around the junction, and its legs reached 8 pillars. Hundreds of experience knots vanished beneath my fingers. The last knot required both hands. The western tower dropped another finger. Stone split above us. Iris placed her hands beneath mine. She could not tie the knot. She could keep my fingers from opening. "You made life from what they threw away," she said. "Do it once more." I pulled. The final knot closed. The giant spider opened 8 white eyes. It used the simple ability of its shape. It wove. Silver web flooded across the black junction. One strand caught the western tower. Another wrapped the dining hall. 8 lines joined the foundation pillars. The pressure that had been tearing the academy apart spread into the hill. The leaning tower stopped. The remaining black loop tightened. Across the academy, broken walls settled instead of falling. The ranking wall flickered back to life in the empty arena. Theo's crystal showed the giant white spider holding the foundation together. For several seconds, no one outside made a sound. Then, 11,000 voices shouted my name. The giant spider finished its web and lowered its body over the repaired knot. Its white thread slowly turned black as it joined the ancient pattern. The bond inside me faded. It was no longer part of my active legion. It had become part of the academy. Only the uneven bird remained on Iris's hands. By sunset, the rescue count was complete. No student had died. 43 people had minor injuries. 7 buildings were damaged. The main tower still stood. The award ceremony took place in the dining hall because the arena floor had a hole large enough to swallow Quentin's carriage. He stood before students, instructors, workers, and every active recording crystal. He restored my scholarship of 12 gold a month. He confirmed the 500 gold tournament prize. He entered the Thread Club as the Academy's first-ranked club and recognized my class under capital law. Then he faced the uneven bird on my shoulder. I believed uncontracted life could only be uncontrolled, he said. Today it followed one student into a collapsing foundation and saved everyone inside it. My judgment was wrong. The apology cost him more than the gold. That was why the crowd believed it. Garth's dismissal appeared on the ranking wall. His falsified mission and destroyed exam evidence were entered beneath it. He had first humiliated me before 400 candidates. His name disappeared before more than 11,000 witnesses and 27 academies. Seth returned our club emblem himself. He placed it above the dining hall door, one position higher than his golden lion. Next year, he said, I want a real rematch. Collect one flag first. The hall laughed. Seth did too. We ate at a long table beneath the repaired beams. The cook served peppered beef, roast chicken, golden potatoes, buttered beans, and bread hot enough to steam when torn. Honey gravy filled 3 pots. A berry tart waited beside cups of apple tea. Milo took 2 plates and claimed rescue work required fuel. Jasper divided the tart with geometric precision. Theo replayed the moment the Threadbird rode a melon until Iris threatened to drop his crystal into the gravy. I sat with both hands wrapped from wrist to fingertip. I had started the day with 100 familiars. I ended it with 1. Iris moved her chair close enough that our shoulders touched. We can make more, she said. It will take time. Good. You need time. The uneven bird took a piece of potato from my plate and fell forward under its weight. Iris caught it before it landed in the gravy. For a while, the broken academy felt like a home. After the final bell, the bird flew to the western window. It carried a thin piece of black thread from the repaired junction. The strand did not point down anymore. It stretched east, beyond the academy, and toward the capital. I touched it with one bandaged finger. 6 distant pulls answered. 1 came from beneath the capital. The other 5 came from far beyond the kingdom. The system voice spoke for the last time that night. 7 master knots formed the original pattern. 1 has been stabilized. 6 are beginning to open. The bird tightened its claws on my hand. Far away, something pulled back.